broken system, chained and tangled up in lies. Voices shouting, screaming in defeat. Politicians playing games under darkened skies. Hope lost in the dust of the street. Red and blue, colors pouring from the sky. Debates turn to anger, the crowd gets loud. Punches flying in the blink of an eye. Truth buried deep beneath the shroud. Welcome to the bullpen, where we will survive. These broken dreams we defend, trying to keep alive. Faces on the screen, flashing perfect teeth. But behind those eyes, just rotting greed. Politicians turn to whispers beneath. They all just get what they need. Whispering conspiracies, drowning in their lies. Echoes of freedom, lost in cries. Spin the wheel of fate, let's see who rise. But this game will bleed you dry. Welcome to the bullpen, where the weak will survive. These broken dreams we defend, trying to keep alive. Welcome to the bullpen, where the weak will survive. These broken dreams we defend, trying to keep alive.
Good evening. It's another Sunday night, so we've got another episode of the Bullpen. Right now, it's just me and Little Chad, but I'm pretty sure Comix is on his way, and who knows what's going on with Mad. He's been doing speakeasies late at night and early in the afternoon or evening, I guess. So, don't know if he'll be around. But how's your week been, Chad?
Been pretty good.
Yeah.
You were missed on Friday with your, you know, occasional not being on the show.
Very occasional, but yeah, it's for family
It
reasons.
happens.
Friday, so
Yeah,
last night with the parents in town, and they were only here for 3 days, so figured could probably do without a show on the last night they were here. So
no, it
plus
makes
yours
sense.
is
Makes
so
sense.
early for us, so it's like 7 in the
That's true.
evening here. But yeah, we've got the Oscars going on right now, not being non-political. We've had some interesting stories throughout the week, and then we've had craziness amongst the influencer group that goes all the way back to the death of Charlie Kirk and Candace's immediate attacks afterwards. But we'll dive into that a little bit because I've got some opinions. I'm sure Chad will have some opinions.
My
It's
God.
not the it's not the biggest deal, but it is kind of the the Twitter sphere big deal right now.
I mean,
I don't think it'll affect anything outside of Twitter.
if you want to sum up the stuff with Candace Owens, we should have a clip ready from Tropic Thunder with Robert Downey Jr. telling you to never go full retard. 'Cause
Never go full retard.
I think, you know what, someone should do AI for simple Candace. Hello.
I'm sure somebody already has.
Oh,
But,
it's probably glorious.
yeah. But yeah, Candace is a crazy. I'm beginning to feel the same way about Megan and about Tucker. And I've been fans of theirs for a long time. Doesn't mean they can't still give you some good information, but when people start showing their true colors, I think you gotta look at it and take them for what they're showing you. And
I know
Megan's
Megan's
been
got.
especially weird.
I mean, she's got colors coming out of her eyes, coming out of her nose, coming out everywhere.
Coming out of her everywhere. Yeah. But yeah, we'll get into some clips on that because really it's right now it's kind of like Ben Shapiro is just getting ganged up on by Tucker, Megan, Candace, and Piers, even though he really didn't say all that much about some of them. But yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit. Do you want to start by checking in with the Oscars and seeing a few little clips from what they're doing over there? That
Yeah,
way
why
nobody
not?
feels,
Let's be
FOMO.
let's be culturally relevant.
Yeah. So let me get a couple of them ready. We'll probably just do them back to back to back because they're very short clips. But we've got a couple with Conan and then one with our favorite Jimmy Kimmel. You know, completely not unhinged. Let me get the volume right on it.
Okie dokie.
And transition. And we'll go ahead and blow it up since they're short clips. So here's Conan I believe during the opening.
First time since 2012 that there are no British actors nominated for Best Actor or Best Actress. Yeah, British spokesperson said, yeah, well, at least we arrest our pedophiles. So we got that going for us.
So we got to go straight into the Epstein stuff. I don't know. Was that loud enough for you to hear it? Because that was as loud as I could get it. These clips are out there very, very quickly, but they're not the best quality. So then he had this to say a little bit later.
I should warn you, tonight could get political, okay?
Yeah.
And if that makes you uncomfortable, there's an alternate Oscars being hosted by Kid Rock. Yeah. It's at the Dave & Buster's down the street. A lot of tickets for that.
It's a little bit telling that he assumes everybody's going to know about the Turning Point USA halftime show. And there were enough people in there to get the joke, because that may actually have them slightly worried.
Here's the thing, like if you're, what's the old line? If you have to tell people you're the king, you're not the king. Like if you have to try to pretend, like if you have to acknowledge and like belittle, that means it hits you.
It's a punch down.
Yep. It mattered. So good for them.
There were a lot more people that probably watched that than are going to watch the Oscars tonight. Their numbers have been going down year after year after year.
I mean, it's still going to be, it'll
do numbers.
It'll still clock 20 to 30 million probably, which is like, I mean, that's nothing compared to what it used to do.
When it was an actual cultural gathering.
I'm looking at what Sean Penn won for Best Supporting Actor, one battle after another.
Shocking.
F1 won in the one category I think it was nominated for, which was Best Sound. It's like F1's the best movie. It should be sweeping everything.
It was the best movie, best cinematography, best sound.
Let's see.
Is it all one battle after another in Sinners?
No. Okay, so Sinners won Best Original Screenplay. Amy Madigan won Best Supporting Actress for Weapons, which, by the way, is weird. We've talked about that before, how her character has somehow become a queer icon when was a child murdering, terrible, like as terrible a person as you could be. I'm not getting into everything her character did in Weapons, but if you're making Jeffrey Epstein jokes, it seems weird that you're giving the award to her character, to her for playing that character.
I don't know, if you're going to make Epstein jokes, at least bring up the Clintons. But then he might get shot.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like one battle after another is won most. Sinners won like 2 categories. Best cinematography they won, and best original screenplay.
Over F1.
Uh,
Literally being on the track during practice laps and stuff at the races.
yeah,
All the drone work, all of the work that went into F1. That's crazy. And that's not even a political movie. I mean, it may not have won because they didn't have enough cast
you want to
in
hear the
certain
interesting
categories.
thing? F1 wasn't even nominated in that category. The nominees
That,
for best cinematography were Marty Supreme, the ping pong movie with Timothy
yeah,
Chalamet,
which I've heard.
Sinners.
Even my daughter said it was horrible, and
Yeah,
she
I
likes that
mean,
kind of crap.
I understand why Sinners was nominated. That really was actually, again, you can disagree with the content, but it was meticulously and well crafted.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
One Battle After Another was nominated. Train Dreams, and then Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. So,
They're always going to get Del Toro in there.
yeah, why F1 wasn't nominated, I have no idea. You're right. F1 seemed like they were doing a lot more
It was kind of
amazing things.
groundbreaking at times.
Well, I think
It
they
was at
did
least a
like.
different use of the technology that we have.
Well, I think they're trying to like. Well, he had just done all that stuff with Top Gun Maverick because it was the same director, and so I disagree. I think clearly,
It's a
even
lot
though
different on the ground with machines that are going 200 miles an hour than it is just having a GoPro in the cockpit. Which it was more than that, but you know what I mean.
yeah, Lindsay over here. I hated the first act of Sinners, but everything else about the movie was solid and enjoyable vampire tale. Yeah, I've said before, and I said it on our show, the Ascendant Art podcast, like when I was reviewing it. I am very glad Ryan Coogler seems to be the only competent filmmaker that has left wing agenda move, because like when compared to One Battle After Another, which is just Antifa messaging hitting you over the head with it, Ryan Coogler actually deftly interwove like his storytelling, so it was subtle. And it was there was a like he made it a well-crafted movie. So in the old days, Hollywood used to know this, like if you are subtle with your messaging, you can start
Bury
winning
it
over.
within the
Yeah,
story.
exactly. Now they've just, and so it's it's good that Coogler isn't as good. Like, I mean, look at the first Black Panther. You can disagree. It was well crafted, well made. He knows how to make a quality movie. But
Yep.
everyone else in Hollywood seems to have forgotten that, except for Kazansky, whatever. What is the guy who did F1? Yeah, the director. What's his name?
Yeah, I don't know his name. We did get a super
Is
chat though
oh okay.
from Alexander Tan for $1.99. Leering Center grad. Please fix thumbnail spelling. Did I spell something wrong in the thumbnail? I don't know. I'd have to go look at it.
Oh, here
But
you
for
go.
that, how
It's
about we do one of the new ones?
yeah. It's there you go. Give a new one.
Oh no, I can't do it on studio mode. Let me switch and do it the other way.
I mean,
Lil Chad
Bryce
always
Dallas
wants
Howard
more,
wins.
and so
There you
do
go.
I.
There's your Bryce Dallas Howard.
I think everybody, we've discussed this. Everybody is a fan of Bryce Dallas Howard, but it's Joseph Kaczynski,
Hey, it's
and
lovely Sherry. Yeah.
look at this guy's his movie lineup for directing is Top Gun Maverick, Tron Legacy, Oblivion, and F1. I was like, this guy is clearly whose movies I want to be going to see in the theater.
I like 2 out of 4.
You didn't like Oblivion?
I'd have to remember Oblivion. Is that the other Tom
That's
Cruise
the one with
movie?
Tom Cruise where he was cloned and he was fighting the artificial intelligence alien in post-apocalyptic Earth. It was very well
I
made.
think I watched it. Don't think I cared about it.
You should watch it again.
And none of the Tron stuff at all do I care about.
Tron
So
Legacy was good.
I've never cared about Tron. I mean, I watched it. We've talked about it, but did not care about it.
Hey, chat,
Let's
super
catch
chat
this.
to tell Brahma how wrong he is.
Let's catch this clip from Kimmel as well, just to see what he had to say, because I haven't really watched through them yet.
As you know, there are some countries whose leaders don't support free speech. I'm not at liberty to say which. Let's just leave it at North Korea and CBS. Fortunately, for all of us, there is an international community of filmmakers dedicated to telling the truth, oftentimes at great risk, to make films that teach us, that call out injustice, that inspire us to take action. And there are also documentaries where you walk around the White House trying on shoes.
Righty then.
That was
So
bold
the free
move.
speech thing, and then taking on Melania for the documentary on Melania.
No, but
Because
he's
Melania
calling
did
him.
anything.
What's interesting, so he made that
He's
joke
calling out
about
CBS.
But guess who just, what did CBS ownership just buy? Warner Brothers.
Yep. It would have been a little bit interesting if he had talked about how documentarians, he's acting like they make these things that just change everybody's lives. Maybe he could have brought up the one that was being made on January 6th by Nancy Pelosi's daughter about how Nancy Pelosi did not call in any of the National Guard or anybody to help on that day, even though she was advised to, and admitted on camera that it was all her fault. I mean, that's a documentary you could talk about.
It is, except they're not going to.
So that's how the Oscars is going. I don't care anymore. I haven't watched it in years. The only thing that's been interesting that's happened at the Oscars is Will Smith slapping somebody in the face, and it pretty much destroyed the Oscars, I think. So,
Yep. We got.
apparently we've got political spelled wrong, which is weird because that would be for months, because I haven't changed it in months. Alexander Tan for $1.99. In thumbnail, it is not political, not plitcal. Thanks. I will double check it and change it. But here's another one of the new ones.
The Bullpen thanks you for giving that. I need more.
I
Those
still
are
like
courtesy
others,
of
yeah.
DB Wild.
Yeah, I mean, it took someone else apparently when you were doing Sydney Sweeney. She was just distracted by me, apparently. Phrasing.
Well, I think it was just Grok has some safeguards because he was having the same problem in Grok. So I think he was using a different system to try to do them.
Yeah, ever since Elon's
Comix is
crazy.
coming mutant.
I was about to say, ever since Elon's crazy baby mama started her jihad against AI images and videos, Grok has been a little less fun.
Yeah, well, for certain things. It's still useful for a few things. Apparently, just a few minutes ago, Hollywood director David Borenstein just said, "You'll lose your country by being complicit when a government murders people on your streets, and then you don't say anything when oligarchs take over the media and control how to produce it and consume it." That was for the documentary Mr. Nobody Against Putin.
Yeah, I'm sure Putin's really upset about it.
Yes, I'm sure Putin may be the only one who watched it, because I've never heard of it, didn't even know it existed. So,
You know how I
whatever.
know when Putin's upset about something?
Somebody dies.
People die. It's like the Austin Powers gag. When Vladimir Putin's upset, people die. In those, he does like, he doesn't care.
Get me some freaking sharks with lasers on their heads.
And Bullpen listeners and viewers ahead of the curve, like always, because like we were talking about last week with Russia getting that special dispensation, but it was only for oil and gas that were already at sea.
Right.
Guess what? Where they were storing things in the North Atlantic near their Alaska drilling sites. They were just storing it at sea for some weird reason. About 6 months ago, they just started bringing it back online and storing it all at sea.
It's an unusual way to do things, but maybe tipped off.
I think it's hilarious. So there's something where people are like, Trump had no plan for the closing of the Strait of Hormuz. Then right after that, Trump is terrible for for easing sanctions for Russian oil and gas to be sold throughout the world. And it's like, maybe he did have a plan for what would happen if they dicked around in the Strait of Hormuz.
Right. You want to see a funny one about the Venezuelan oil and the Iranian oil and all that kind of stuff? Guess who's back on the scene and giving us her thoughts on things going right now, and then see if you can see the inconsistency in it.
How dare you, Brahma?
Oh, so you know already?
Oh, I'm aware.
Yeah, this one came out just a couple hours ago, so I don't know how many people have seen it yet, but yep, Greta's back.
We need to talk about what's happening in Cuba right now. As the Trump administration is waging illegitimate wars across the world, killing countless of people, it is also strangling the Cuban people, deliberately, methodically, and openly. The pedophile Trump himself bragged about it, saying, "There's an embargo, there is no oil, there's no money, there's no anything." He said it like it was something to be proud of, while millions of people have been plunged into darkness by rolling blackouts, while hospitals lose power, while ambulances run out of fuel, while shelves go empty. The United Nations has warned of imminent humanitarian crisis. Intensive care units and emergency rooms are compromised. Newborns, the elderly, the sick, all paying the price. This is not an accident or an unfortunate side effect of some policy disagreement. This is the intended outcome. Since 1962, the US embargo has been designed, in the words of the US State Department itself, to bring about hunger, desperation, and overthrow the government. Now the Trump administration is escalating it further, plotting what they themselves have called a takeover of the island. We cannot be silent about this. Cuba did not stay silent when the world needed it. For over 60 years, Cuba sent its doctors to all corners of the earth. Cuban medical workers fought Ebola in West Africa. They responded to disasters in Haiti.
Ebola?
They
What is
trained
Ebola?
generations of doctors from all over the world. When liberation movements were fighting
Adam is
for
mad.
independence from colonial rule across Africa and much of the world was looking the other way, Cuba stood in solidarity, not just in words, but in action, with real material.
I can't do a full another minute of that, but you get the point, right?
Yeah, it's amazing how she, hey, Greta, if that's what happens when we cut off oil to Cuba, what happens if we cut off oil to everywhere?
She's
None.
literally demanding that shipping of oil now be allowed back to Cuba. The environmentalist is demanding that we start shipping oil and lift the embargo.
Because and this is her, she's so retarded that she doesn't understand the logic fallacy right there of, if we cut off oil, it creates a humanitarian crisis for Cuba,
which produces regime change without
Yeah.
a single bullet fired.
Yeah. So, hey, please cut off oil to every industrialized Western democracy.
Yeah.
Please.
What do you think's going to happen? There's
Yeah.
going to be an uproar because everything runs on oil.
Yep. I think we got in that time a couple super chats. There you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dead Man for $1.99 says, "You're wrong. Oblivion and Tron Legacy were good." I'm not saying they were bad. I'm saying they weren't my cup of tea.
I appreciate
didn't
that
care.
chat picked me up on the fact that, yes, if you super chat and you can tell Brahma how wrong his takes are on movies, just remember you can do that all night long via super chat or
And then you
member
get
chat.
these.
Thank you so much.
That's the blonde with purple eyes.
She's
And of
half
course we had-
Targaryen.
Yeah. We had Dan Crane as well, celebrating 9 months of membership. It's a baby. Hail. And I love the political talk on the bullpen. Thank you, sir. Let's see, which one are we going to give you? How about the brunette? Because I like that one the best, I think.
All hail the bullpen.
I know why you like that one the best.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
almost the yeah going for real. No cap.
No cap.
That's the no cap one. Look, it's AI generated. We know it's not going to happen, but every time he plays that clip, I'm like, it's on the verge of happening. And we all
One
know
of
what
them's
we're
gonna
talking
pop.
about.
So true. That one Grok did a good job on. Are we seeing the Rumble chat? I believe I see it, low spec, because you're chatting.
Did we get raided earlier from a Rumble?
I don't know. It doesn't show me that back here.
I know.
It
I
doesn't
think
show if a raid happens. It just shows the chat. So
yeah, I know I can see when it's from Rumble, but
yeah,
it's hard.
That one is a Rumble chat from low spec, so we're seeing it.
Anyway,
I believe
but
we
yeah.
can even see the Twitter chat if anybody actually ever Twitter chatted. So
Yes, but so yeah, Greta Thunberg is never go full Candace.
true. It's hard for her though, because she started with a touch of the tism. So Candace has just, gotten to the point of the tism. So last week, right at the end of the show, before we did the after show, which was a very long after show, we were talking about that Sikh store owner in London. You remember?
The one who was like, F off halal, never for me.
Yeah. So there were over 100 protesters outside of his store at some point this week. They were breaking windows, going in, trying to, destroy the store. Guess what happens in London?
I mean, did he get firebombed and burned down?
No. No, the cops come and arrest him.
Don't push me. Fucking slave!
This is interesting because he is also an immigrant, I am to understand. And
yes,
I don't know what they're
a Sikh brown man, but he's being anti-religion by not having halal at his store and proudly declaring it. So that's that free speech over there in England right now. I've got another one from England that's even more interesting. Check this one out. I'll blow it up after it starts. So on the left here, we've got a street preacher with a microphone and an amp that is being told by the cops that he is not allowed to do this and he could be arrested. Right? Mm-hmm. So on the right, we have what also goes on in Europe.
At all. I've been preaching about repentance from sin.
Meanwhile, we get the...
Oh, that's loud. That's so loud.
I'll pull it down. So you can do the call to prayer and be protected by the cops, but if you're street preaching, no. You're going to be told to stop or arrested. Things are going great over there in the UK.
Yeah, that's... what do we expect? I mean...
Well, it's here too. Dearborn. Detroit.
Yeah, thanks, Bush. I agreed. It was loud as yeah. But it was hard.
I didn't know it was going to be that loud.
Yeah, it's all right. We got through it. England isn't, but we did.
Somebody's dogs are probably running around barking now because it was so loud.
Well, not in England anymore. They're going to be getting rid of the dogs soon.
They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs.
That's going to come in on the scale of grievance. Where does that, if you're a Haitian who wants the dogs and cats so you can eat them versus
the Islamist who
don't want them
get
around.
rid of all dogs.
That's an interest. Who wins on that scale of grievance?
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it all goes down in Chinatown. because the Haitians will be there to eat the dogs, the Chinese will be cooking them, and the Islamists will be slaughtering them. It's the intermixing of all of our immigrants.
Yep.
But we did have some particularly nasty stuff going on this week. We had at least 2 terror attacks. This is after the New York City stuff that we covered last week, where the news tried to claim that, actually they were trying to target Mamdani when it was bombs being thrown by Islamists at Jake Lang and his group of anti-Muslim protesters. So first, I want to start off with just a little continuation of what happened last week. So we've got the lawyer for at least one of the guys, and this one's going to actually be probably a pretty quiet clip. It's hard to hear, but it does have the closed captioning up at the top. So we'll blow that up so everybody can see it.
I'm saying they're from different parts of Pennsylvania. They're in different age groups. They are not known to each other.
They're in different parts of Pennsylvania. They're in different age groups. They are not known to each other.
They did not live together. They did not have family or school ties. There is no reason to believe they knew each other prior to this incident, and I don't know how well they knew each other at the time of this incident.
I'm not sure that's helping the case for the Islamists. So you could just run into another Islamist in New York and see a protest going on and be like, hey, you got any bombs? I'd like to jihad with you. I don't need to know you. And this is after, we've got everybody saying, no, they just, they took the train from Pennsylvania to New York, and it could have been a very great day, but their lives were completely changed because they got arrested for doing something.
Yeah. I know my life completely changes when I put together explosive devices and throw them at people with the intent of killing them. That's another way of doing it. Yeah.
But what does it say about Islam that they're literally, no, they didn't know each other. They just happened to meet on the street and decided, let's jihad.
This is like, was it like Step Brothers? Did we just become best friends?
Apparently.
Yeah, like Davina's right.
That's an insane take by that lawyer.
They're not describing the Amish.
Right.
Yeah, you don't hate the
media enough.
Media. So what this is a good juxtaposition, because what did the young Amish youth do in the last
Went to
couple
North
of years?
Carolina after the hurricane
houses.
and built houses in single days.
Mm-hmm.
Throwing up a house a day.
Yep. Got whole communities back into homes so that during the winter, so that they could not die and have to leave and move out of there.
Right. So then one other clip, I'm sure everybody, we didn't play it last week because we didn't have the camera angle yet last week, but the dude who's counter protesting Jake Lang's group, the white dude for Harris, I'm sure, that is just a little effeminate, gay boy. The one that they jumped over his back and threw the bomb. He decided to come out with some statements about it. So let's check them out, because I find it quite funny.
I really want to be clear that I made a huge mistake in not taking cover after this explosive device was thrown. If you're at a public event and someone throws what looks like an explosive device, you're not a wimp for taking cover. We were counter-protesting, making Jake Lang look like the idiot that he is, when these two idiots came along and committed an act of terrorism. They could not have done more to legitimize Jake Lang's white supremacist talking.
It wasn't legitimizing it. It was just proving the fact. I mean, the fact that they were out there protesting anti-Muslim protest and anti-Islam, taking over New York City, they literally just proved the fact.
Points. They literally threw the bomb over my head while I was
empathetic.
talking about inclusion. The CIA should definitely be paying them at this point. I just want to reiterate that I was not practicing safety that day. I could have been killed, and that weighs very heavy on both me and my family. And all that being said, I'm not going to use this as an excuse to be a xenophobic bigot. Elon Musk and all of right-wing media are having a field day right now because I am choosing inclusion and not bigotry.
Meaning he learned nothing.
You
Literally
have
is still suicidal empathy everywhere.
Good day, sir. Yep.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
This is the problem with the left. They cannot even recognize when somebody's trying to kill them, along with any of their enemies. The left, the green and red, the communism and Islam unity is not going to last the way they think it is. They're both using each other to try to take down the country. And then they will turn on each other.
No, a good example of that would be communist Russia. When they took over. Let me ask you, how did that end for Trotsky?
Not well.
Not well. There's going to be one winner. One.
Right. There's going to be one last man standing. There can be only one.
Yeah. And that winner. So here's what's interesting. Like, if it's the communists, say if in theory, there's a large Asian country run by communists, really large one. In theory, if that country won,
that may not have as many people as they say.
Somebody like Greta Thunberg, who's a useful idiot, who's doing their bidding, they are not going to suddenly be like, you're right. We should stop using coal and gas and all this other stuff. Yes, they're just going to be like, thanks, Greta. Thank you for facilitating things. Your purpose is now at an end. You are obsolete. There's a great Twilight Zone episode called The Obsolete Man, where when an authoritarian regime is done with a person, when they deem you obsolete, they just do a little show trial and say you're going to be removed. That's it. That's what's going to happen. You are obsolete.
Have outlived your usefulness. Yep.
Yeah. It's a lot of the commies helped the Islamists and coups around the world that immediately eradicated one. They're not in if you're communist, then a good example again.
You're not into religion of any kind.
Correct.
But you'll use it to get your power.
Which is why, in hindsight, we would have been better off leaving Ba'athist regimes in charge to a certain degree in the Middle East, because at least they were secular. They weren't Islamic based, so they were just normal dictators, terrible people. I mean,
wasn't theocracies taking over.
Nope. They weren't true believers. You got to watch out for the true believers.
Well, that's the thing with Islam. The most devout Islamists are the ones that are going to kill you. It's those wishy-washy Islamists that are like, yeah, we're about peace, because they don't even know their own religion. Because you're commanded to take over the world. You're commanded to kill the infidel, convert the infidel, or tax the infidel until he can't be taxed anymore. And then you go ahead and kill the infidel. And that's why this invasion of the last 4 years is such a major issue for me. Because I don't think people are recognizing it quickly enough. And I especially don't think the church is recognizing it quick enough.
Yeah, I mean, the church is captured, at least in the context of I would not trust a lot of the South American guys who came up in the 70s and 80s as basically communists.
Right. So, and I'm not just talking about the Roman Catholic Church. I'm talking about how many of the Protestant churches have been completely infiltrated by leftism to the point that they all have suicidal empathy as well. And you've got people who are pastors now, like Tallarico down there in Texas, just preaching the most insane leftist drivel that goes completely against any of the teachings of the Bible, and they'll all accept it because
I
it
think
goes with their worldview.
I saw an interesting piece. It was about what's his name, the Democrat out of Texas running for Senate,
Tallarico.
Tellerico, where basically it was a challenge. Like if you are in a church in Texas and your pastor is not calling him out for his bullshit interpretations of of Christianity.
If your pastor is aware of it and not calling it out, yeah.
Oh, who's not aware of it at this point?
Not all of us are terminally online like we are.
I
don't know. I don't know what kind of campaign ads that they've already got going against them yet, but I'm sure people are learning pretty quick.
Well, they're still trying to figure out because they don't like that Trump hasn't endorsed Cornyn. That's what the establishment people are trying to convince him that.
And I hope he doesn't.
That Paxton won. Look, here's my deal. And Paxton actually came out and said it. You pass the SAVE Act, I'll drop out. Like, I'll make the corrupt bargain, right? I'll let you keep Cornyn. Pass the SAVE Act. I'll take
and Thune's still pretending like we absolutely could not do it.
I'll take that deal, by the way. Paxton, and Ken Paxton recognizes that's a deal worth making too. Now they're not going to do it.
Yes, because it might actually keep the Democrats out of power for a very long time. Because they've imported voters. And they've imported an invasion. And as we've seen throughout this week, they've also imported terrorists. And of course, that's going to be a thing that all gets blamed back on Trump because he dared to go after Iran. We're just creating more terrorists. It's like, no, this is part of their teaching. This is just them acting when they get the chance to because they see an opening. I still don't buy the whole 9/11 was caused by America because, if we hadn't treated Islam so bad and the Middle East so bad, it never would have happened. They're radicalized against the little Satan and the great Satan. It's going to happen either way. And I think Comix got stuck on a work call. That's why he's not able to get here. Must have been doing the after hours on-call thing tonight. So.
Yeah, and I don't think we heard from Mad, so it's all
right.
No,
I texted him. He hasn't said anything. So up your way, we had the Old Dominion shooter this week.
Oh, yeah, right in time for the gun control bills that are pending Abigail Spanberger. So, even though this
gun control bills that don't apply to the congressman.
Oh yeah, that's even better.
Or the government.
Yeah, they wrote
that gun control.
Well, that one is specific for the transporting of firearms, but yeah. So, but they also wrote a lot of exemptions into it for former law enforcement, et cetera, et cetera. Which, by the way, there's a lot of good law enforcement. There's also a lot of bad law enforcement. We all saw it during COVID. There were plenty of guys with those badges who were A-OK enforcing batshit crazy, blatantly unconstitutional mandates. So, take that for what it is.
Right.
But yeah, but this interesting is the real scandal of this dude is he was convicted of supporting ISIS under the first Trump administration
and sent to prison for 7 years.
He was
then let out and not deported.
They asked for 20 years. The judge sentenced him to 10 years. After 7 years, the Biden administration allowed him under their policies to get out by giving him credit for quote unquote behavior credit, all that other shit. So he only served 7 of a 10-year
He went and
sentence.
tried to join ISIS.
Yeah. And he gets out. So by the way, in terms of gun control, this guy is 100% a fucking convicted felon. It turns out that he was provided firearms by a known straw purchaser. What is a straw purchaser? It's someone who buys guns in mass to give out to people that aren't supposed to have them. it's amazing
somebody who
how
can pass the FBI background check
and
to buy guns legally.
And somehow, magically, people who are known for doing these blatantly blatant violations of federal gun law, they will do it. Like, here's people here may remember Operation Fast and Furious under the Obama administration.
Yep.
This
Where
was
put a whole bunch of guns down below the border.
where they allowed straw purchasers to go to gun stores along the border, buy a whole bunch of guns, and cross the border with them, and then give them to cartels.
And then lo and behold, those guns are used against our border patrol.
What is crazy is the gun shops recognized that these guys were doing bad things and called the ATF to report the purchasers, and they were told, stand down, sell them the guns. The government told them, because this was part of their this is how smart they are. We're going to, give them the guns. So this is another circumstance where the government had already been aware of this person as a straw purchaser selling firearms to people they shouldn't. They gave her a warning letter. Don't you do that again, so that she could keep doing it down in Norfolk. and for the love of God, like, they are going to use this as a way to, like, the DA in Norfolk was already out giving a press conference about how nothing's going to change till we just take guns away from people. When this slimy little shit of a prosecutor is completely disregarding that this guy was already breaking umpteen gun laws to get this gun. Now, I think what is nice to see, and which is what is an important change, is that the students in ODU did not wait anymore.
Let's play the clip first, and then we'll go over. So this is them talking about the ODU shooter.
Students that were in that room that subdued him and rendered him no longer alive. I don't know how else to say it, but they basically were able
rendered
to
him no longer alive.
So he was not shot.
He was not shot.
He was not shot. They were able to terminate the threat. He was rendered no longer alive.
He was beaten to death with his own shoe.
The shopkeeper and his son were a completely different story altogether. I had to beat them to death with their own shoes.
So here's, all right, this is an interesting thing. All right. There are the run, hide, fight as the official advice when dealing with an active shooter.
Right.
To the point where it's became even a movie, right? If the first thing you can do is run, find, and then hide, run and hide. But in the event the shooter is coming at you, do not, they are coming there to kill you. Do not surrender to that ill intent. Laying there and not fighting back is not a really good option. When you generally
don't get summarily executed, fight back in whatever way you can.
Because if you are dealing with a lone gunman or even a couple gunmen that are splitting up and going into territory,
they don't have numbers.
They don't have numbers, you do. And also, this is an interesting thing that you learn when you actually start dealing with firearms and using them. Even cops, who are supposedly well-trained professionals, when dealing with a heightened scrutiny situation, will miss a lot of the times with what it should be considered point blank shots. You'll see it reported often, like 5 police when they're talking about, like, and the left will try to use this as a counter argument, like 5 police officers emptied their entire magazines, like, and that would have been 80 shots or whatever number it is, and he was hit 17 times. Do the math on that.
A lot of shots not
That's
hitting.
a lot of shots not hitting from what our most professional gunmen.
After the first few hit, that's a pretty immobilized person usually.
Yeah. So all that is to say, like, even well-trained people in a very tense situation will, have trouble hitting targets even close. If you
get the adrenaline, you get a little bit shaky maybe.
If you are confronted with a gun person, because we've got all the trans shooters now too.
Yes.
What the it's
pretty soon we're going to be able to play the game. Is it an Islamist or is it a trans?
If they are in a situation where you can do that, if you're confronted, use your numbers. If you're in a classroom, for instance, like in this situation, and the guy comes into the classroom, get whatever you can as a weapon, come at them with numbers, and take them. What if this is a good thing? What if they're wearing body armor? Well, body armor doesn't protect you from blunt force trauma generally. Like you can wear body armor that has puncture protection. That means like knife protect, like where the stabbing won't puncture your body, but it will still create blunt force trauma. You'll see that you've seen if you watched it in movies where you see someone like rip open their vest after it blocked a bullet and they have a giant bruise just because it doesn't
Yeah,
let
the
the bullet
kinetic
through.
energy transfers either way.
Yeah, so you can still like it doesn't. So if you had like if you ripped off of a table like a leg and were using it like a bat and you hit them and they were wearing body armor, yeah, a soft body armor might protect you from a bullet or from a knife wound, but it's gonna if you hit them, they're still gonna feel that. If they're wearing one with ceramic plates, hit them in the face.
Yeah, there's
Like
a good
hit
chance these people aren't used to being hit back.
or hit them like here's the other hit them in the knee, hit them in like body armor. They're not usually going leg. I mean,
Yeah, don't play fair.
This is getting into tactics, which is kind of beyond the point. But don't just surrender. I mean, the ideal scenario would be having armed counter forces. Like I have a concealed carry permit in Virginia. They're about to make it so that I cannot carry really anywhere because of their stupidity. Like apparently my only place that I'm allowed to conceal carry to protect myself will effectively become my house, which is stupid. I don't need to conceal carry in my house. So but they're going to make it so you can't transport, and be carrying anywhere there's public streets or public road. Well, if I'm walking somewhere in public, like I have to at some point be on a public property when I'm out. So how am I supposed to conceal carry?
That's why you're not allowed to transport
Yep.
now either.
Yeah,
Dead
well-
Man for $4.99 says blowback is a real thing for the CIA, but Islamists are driven by ideology. Bin Laden was going to attack us no matter what. Yeah.
I'm reminded of you probably heard the story.
Hold
It
on.
goes,
We got to do the other part.
Chad loves the Ottoman Empire. Brahma is an Islamophobiast, and Comix is the smartest 5'10" midget ever.
yeah, I was gonna say this came up with China specifically. China and Vietnam are both examples of this before Bin Laden. China fighting in World War II against Japan. Vietnam fighting in World War II against Japan and their imperial ambitions. Both had very large communist forces that were part of the rebellion or insurgency against the Japanese. Both of them ended up being armed by the Allies, and specifically the U.S., since we were manufacturing stuff. And effectively, both of them had through Mao in China and in Vietnam with who was the one in Vietnam?
It's not Ho Chi Minh, is it? Yeah.
I think they basically said, okay, we're going to fight the Japanese now, but you do realize as soon as this is done, we're getting these, like in China's case, we're going after our imperial regime. And in Vietnam, they said, we're going to get the French the fuck out of here. We don't want the French running our show anymore, because Vietnam was a French colony at that point, or a colonial possession. And and as soon as World War II was over, yay, we did all the congratulations, Japan's defeated. They started in Vietnam the insurgency against the French, and in China they started against the official emperor dynasty over there. If you watch the movie We Were Soldiers, you remember the beginning is actually going over where the French were getting their ass handed to them by the Viet Cong before the US was involved. We have armed people to at the beginning, and we do get and we've been told these are things where we knew they were telling us that's great. We're not done once the Japanese are gone. Bin Laden basically told you, I am for in the Islamic, caliphate. I do not want anything Western in our territory. And once we get rid of Russia, there's still going to be Western stuff here. And guess who the Western stuff that's left after Russia leaves is? You, America.
Which is what was so hilarious, 2 or 3 years ago when Gen Z suddenly discovered those letters from bin Laden that had been written and published. And it's basically what we have said about Islamists. They can lie to you however they want. I mean, in the pursuit of power, they can tell the West anything that they want to and pretty much get away with doing anything they want to, whether it's a sin or not, because if it expands the power of Islam, it's okay. That's all bin Laden was doing. None of those letters was actually good faith in any way.
Yep.
We did have another super chat or two. Toxic Man Flu for $2 says, "Where's Mad? He's always on fire." I've got the perfect clip for that because it's about Mad being on fire.
Chad wanted this. I like Brahma and Mad is on fire.
The Kate Upton clip.
Yeah.
And then Tox for $2. See Ender's Game. Only one way to be safe. That is what happened in Ender's Game. They just tricked him into doing it. But I love the Ender's Game books. Have you read those?
I haven't read the books. I mean, I'm aware of the plot line, for where it goes after the original.
Yeah. There's like 50, 60 books total. But yeah, the Ender's Game itself is a fantastic book, but they go way deeper into things and hegemony and all that kind of stuff after the first Ender's Game book. But yes, ending the threat is the only way to truly be safe. Yeah, Dead Man says he forgot about those letters. Yeah, everybody forgot about the letters. And then Gen Z discovered them again and thought that we were the bad guys all along. We'll do
I don't
this one
always
for that last
watch
week,
YouTube for politics, but when I do, it is the Bullpen with Brahma Bull and Lil Chad.
It's still gross.
It's awesome.
We're going to have to take that one out of circulation. So, yeah, I think we need to. Did you hear from Trump's press meeting, basically the reasoning Trump gave for why he's doing it now and why we're doing what we're doing?
Because it wasn't going to get easier. No, but yeah, I didn't see the full clip.
Yeah, I haven't seen the full clip, but let's play that one because I found the response pretty interesting for his reasoning.
About the political impacts of this. I mean,
I have to do what's right. Political, I'm sure everybody has concern. I have to do what's right. I can't say that, I don't want to have any impact on oil prices for 3 or 4 weeks or 2 months, and we're going to let Iran have a nuclear weapon to blow up the entire East and beyond, right? Because, they were going to blow up the Middle East. If I didn't terminate the Obama horrible deal, the Iran nuclear deal, it's called, if I didn't terminate that in my first term, they would have already had a nuclear weapon, and they would have used it immediately upon getting it. And if I didn't send in the B-2 bombers to bomb the hell out of it and obliterate, and that's what it was, we obliterated that site and stopped all their potential nuclear. If I didn't do that, you would have had Israel and the Middle East hit by nuclear weapons. And we wouldn't be talking about this right now.
So I think we talked about it last week. I can't remember if we actually went into it, but when Witkoff, when he was entering into the negotiations, basically the first thing the Iranians told them was, we've got enough enriched uranium to make 10 bombs right now. That was where they thought they should start the talks. So that's what started the timeline. It was from their own mouths. And then, of course, we had the whole situation with the Ayatollah just happened to call everybody together for a peaceful lunch, and that's where the strikes began.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's one thing Trump has been consistent on. I mean, it's not one
Since
thing.
the 80s.
But yeah, he's never trusted or wanted to allow Iran to ever go in there. Now, I think there's larger geopolitical issues that
Right,
are
which
being helped by this. I mean,
we've
Trump,
discussed with the
yeah,
China situation and with the
this
Russia situation,
yeah,
even.
where China's going in there. I mean, what's interesting is Trump, I think, is gonna get that. All right, we do have a very short, and this is partially because of the way Trump operates. We seem to have a very short attention span on things. We have been effectively at war with Iran for about 2 weeks,
Right.
3 weeks, and maybe this is going into the
February
third week.
28th is when it started, I believe.
Yeah, so this is gonna go into going into the third week now, and people are like, how, like, every day there's a new way that Iran is somehow winning, which, I don't, that's,
I mean, we're running out of
silly.
targets, but Iran is winning.
Yeah, like we just bombed the island that they used as their staging point to, try to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. So what you see is a very coordinated campaign to degrade but not destroy a regime,
and to keep the
and to
oil
keep the
infrastructure
civilian
intact.
infrastructure intact so that they would have a way to be valuable assets immediately upon, like, again,
resolution of whatever this is.
Trump is giving you his roadmap with Venezuela. If some of the people, if the mid-level managers of the current Iranian government threw off and like turned on, the Ayatollah and all the rest of the true believers, and Trump would 100% let them stay in charge and work.
The problem there, I think, is the IRGC. Most of them are very radicalized Islamists. So I don't know how well a few mid-level, regime members turning on the top-level regime members works with the IRGC being in existence.
Yeah, and that's where at a certain point you either, this
Maybe
is why
the Kurds go in. Maybe Israel puts troops on the ground. I just don't think we're going to, outside of maybe some special forces targeted attacks.
I'm pretty sure special forces has probably already been operating in and
Me
out
too.
on the fringes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that they're
But
necessarily
I don't consider
going
that
in.
the same as boots on the ground
No.
in like an invasion type.
No, here's
situation.
the thing. I have I have lots of friends because I live where I live in Northern Virginia who are in the military or are retired from the military now because they've put in their time. And they tell me, and they're like, I was like, 'cause we talk about their boards and some of the awards they have and the other stuff, and one of, sometimes they'll point at this and say, I got this, what is that? And he goes, oh, that's like an administrative service ribbon. I was like, well, what you did wasn't really administrative. And he's like, no, that's what they gave me because they're not allowed to give me the Bronze Star with the combat designation because we weren't allowed to be in the country I was in when I got this. Like, we're not acknowledging that that stuff is even happening.
Right.
We're operating in countries all over the place, doing stuff all the time. And so I have no doubt that we have people in theater, on the ground, painting targets, doing things while they're there. Now, is that, like Brahma's saying, is that the same as spinning up an entire invasion force? No.
Not to me in any way.
Am I going batshit crazy that they're sending a littoral combat vessel with Marine units attached to it? No, because that's standard issue for the kind of flotilla we have. even if we put them in as an expeditionary force to help just, how would I put this? Control the oil distribution centers for, everything they said George W. Bush was doing in Iraq is what we should have, is kind of what Trump is doing, and it's the right way to do it. We are taking the treasure to pay for our operations. We are making sure that this is in our interest and we're not getting bogged down otherwise. So Iran, what we are interested in making sure that the only thing we're interested in making sure is still fully operational, if we can help it, is their oil and gas distribution and infrastructure, so that we can immediately turn around and start dictating where that's getting sold and for how much. What people are leaving out is the fact that, in addition to China being their main vendor, because they're sanctioned and because they are not allowed to sell on China gets this oil at a massive discount. Right. If oil is trading at $100 a barrel on the main board everywhere else, China's usually paying 40% on the dollar. So that's another thing. Like, even if Trump officially allows China to buy oil from Iran as part of the process once we're all done, China is still now paying.
It won't be getting favored nation from
No,
Iran.
they're going to be paying full freight, and China doesn't like that. China doesn't like, they want to be in charge of this stuff. China's already getting effed on not having the Panama Canal, where they were allowing their boats to go through it basically at no charge and charging everybody else on, like, ridiculous transit rates. There's a lot of stuff where Trump is kind of isolating the panda. He's making sad panda face over there. So there's
Russia and China aren't natural allies anyway. So Russia would be perfectly fine with that happening to China and them getting isolated, as long as Russia is getting something out of it too.
Yeah, and which is how it should
is be. Oil and gas sales to Europe through all the pipelines that they have put down.
Here's the thing. I'm becoming less and less and less interested in even protecting. Like, Europe is like, what are we? Russia, they might be better off.
A lost cause as it is.
They might be better off being controlled by Russia, because they're not doing shit to protect their own stuff now.
Yeah, watch the next crusade actually launches from Russia rather than from Western Europe.
Yeah, the Belt and Road is starting to. Trump is like effing them on their Belt and Road initiative, because the whole point, Belt and Road, was the China plan of using soft power through economics, where they would give all these crazy loans to almost third world, slightly better than third world countries. Iran, Pakistan is the high end of that. They would give loans to build all this crazy infrastructure at super high interest rates. And when these countries
say, we own you now.
Yeah, and when the countries couldn't pay, they just took over the infrastructure and ran it for themselves. And also and they didn't completely forgive the debt. So they did this with a lot of African countries, because then they turned around and said, well, in addition, we'll make the debt lower if you start giving us your mineral rights and this and that and all the rest.
Blackmail.
Yeah, it's blackmail.
Coercion.
Yeah. But Trump is going around and completely negating their ability to take control of that, because sure, they might own the mineral rights, but now he's messing with shipping. He's giving a lot of other African nations like the ability to make alternate deals. There's a lot of stuff working in the background that people don't pay attention to, unless you're like, if you're like, I'm in the finance world. If you start looking at a lot of stuff that Besant is doing out of the Treasury, there's a lot more movement and pieces going on that is, helping American interests. I know there's a lot of people blackpilling because they're like, oh no, another Middle Eastern war. Trump's not keeping his promises. Turning around the Titanic to avoid the iceberg, it takes a lot of effort, and it's not always public. You don't always see everything. It's not always above water.
Which is what amazes me about this whole situation, is how many of the big influencers can't seem to look at a big picture take of this. Like, we're just two guys that talk once a week, and I think we've got a pretty good grasp on what is going on geopolitically from looking at it as a big picture thing, not looking at it as we started a war in Iran. Because I also, sure, you can call it a war, whatever. I think it's a 4 to 6 week operation, and we accomplish what we're doing and we get the hell out. And we have somebody remaining in charge that we can work with. And like we've said about China, about Venezuela, about Cuba, about Russia, all of these things are interconnected through, you know, both military action and through economic action. And it just seems, it baffles me how many people have no trust in Trump after 4 years, 5 years of really not starting a invasionary war. He takes actions, he gets out. That's what he does. He's not going to start a freaking World War III. And it's insane how many people think that he has. It's sounding as crazy as the left from some of the people on the right now.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that everybody has to like go full Q, trust the plan shit, but these
No,
are all
neither do I.
Yeah.
But I think he's earned a little bit of trust on this specific
it's
topic,
also-
that
he's
he's
a-
not going to start an
they're-
invasionary war that's
they're-
like ground troops everywhere.
Yeah, but they're also doing this stuff in like full on public. You if you're gonna start in a ground war, you know, look at the Iraq wars as we did them, right? They took months to spin up. You talking like
Right.
moving hundreds of thousands of
Then
troops
we did
in
shock
place.
and awe before you start moving the actual troops in.
No. The troops were there during shock and awe.
Right.
It's still like you're talking like to move. You're gonna want armored divisions. That takes months to get them from one place.
Getting
to
all the
other.
tanks overseas, all the Bradleys overseas.
Where
yeah.
are you staging it? You're all right. If you're talking about staging a war, an invasion of Iran, that means you're probably going to have to stage it in Iraq. You're going to have to get permission of the Iraqi government to place hundreds of thousands of troops into the theater to then move into Iran. Either that or you're going through what is it, Turkey on the northern side. I mean, you're sure as shit not doing it through Afghanistan. I
Right.
mean, you can't just
We gave up Bagram.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have. We've got Turkey, Iraq, Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan as nations where you have land borders. The only two real options that we would have out of that would be Turkey or Iraq. I would think Iraq would make the most sense because of the very large land border they have. And it's not necessarily in the region where you'd have maybe a ton of difficulty where you could stage. Because remember, famously, Iran and Iraq were at war for about 10 years during the 80s before Saddam invaded Kuwait. That's actually one of the reasons why
when we essentially put Saddam in charge.
Well,
of
that's
Iraq
well,
to fight Iran.
Saddam was already in charge, but we armed
Right.
him because he was going to war with Iran, and that served our interests at
backed
the
him.
time.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to. I mean, we wanted Iran to be bloodied, and that took a lot of their time, money, and effort. Iran is actually the bigger geographic locations. Maybe Turkey, but that would you'd have to get Erdogan to okay the invasion of Iran through Turkey. They are a NATO country.
And likely have a whole bunch of missiles lobbed at his own country.
Yeah, so
for it.
he's not going to be pulling that off. So you can't.
But it doesn't really matter. It's not going to happen either
That's
way.
what or the other option would be trying to stage through the UAE or Saudi Arabia and actually go through the Persian Gulf and do an amphibious invasion. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember D-Day, but that took a lot of time and effort. We don't even have enough amphibious vehicles to probably make that work.
And you had to have weather work completely in concert with it.
I mean, we have airborne troops, but you still have to stage them close enough where you could fly them over. You have to have complete control of the airspace. I think we're effectively,
and people would be noticing that troop movement.
Yeah, so this is not you're not going to get full scale issues here. You're gonna.
This is not a long-term invasion. Is
No.
Yeah, what we're getting at.
I think you can see the very specific goals that they are moving forward with, which is we are going to try to destroy all of their missile production, all of their drone production, all of their military depots, to the point where the regime is incapable of controlling
Rearming.
anything and rearming easily. And then once we do that, I think Trump wants to let that board of peace take over and, basically do what they're doing in over with the Palestinians. Like, let that is a mostly Middle Eastern regional board. It also kind of takes the whole what is it, haram issue, like non if it's being administered by Egypt, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Kuwait, maybe even Iraq, it's hard to argue.
Basically a whole bunch of Sunni countries.
Which, good for them. That's their issues between their different flavors, right? But it's still something where it takes away at least initially, they can, effectively it might be because of the United States action, but we're not invading, we're not taking it over. It's other Muslim countries that can administer that.
And the goal is not necessarily, the stated goal is not necessarily regime change either. It's completely crushing the regime and their ability to do anything. But Trump was even asked about it, I think yesterday. What do you think about the people not rising up? And he was like, well, they don't have guns. And they've been told they'll be shot the second that they rise up. So I don't know what they do, but they're going to have to do something if they want to. We're not doing it on their behalf. The other thing that this does is it takes Iran and the Middle East off the playing table if there was to come to a war between China and us in the future. Because two front wars, or two different areas of the world having to deploy to, generally doesn't work all that well. So if we ever did get into kinetic war with China for some reason, then you don't have a second thing popping up in the Middle East if you've taken care of Iran at this point.
So a good example, not to call back to World War II again, but look at World War II. For most of the war, as the U.S. was involved with it, starting with 1942 on, when we were bombed and brought in, we were only conducting, we did conduct two theaters. We had a Pacific theater and the Atlantic theater, right? The Europe versus Japan side. And if you look at it, in the Pacific theater, it was mostly a naval and marine operation, where they were island hopping.
Army and Air Force.
The Air Force didn't exist yet. It was the Army Air Corps.
Army Air Corps, yeah. My dad was in the Army, or not my dad, my granddad was in the Army Air Corps.
Yeah. So, but we were in Europe. Hey, Comix, welcome to the show.
Sorry, I'm running late.
No, that's all right.
No worries.
So we were in Europe, and we were fighting in the European theater, and the Russians were actually fighting a two-front war, because Japan was on their eastern flank, and for the Russians, the western flank was Europe with the Nazis. The Nazis were fighting fighting a two-front war also, but actually when they had pretty much locked up Europe for the most part until we entered, and they were just moving on. So that Eastern Front was them trying to take over Russia. And until we entered, that's why Russia was constantly telling us, begging us, create a second front.
Right, because Russia was basically putting their people through a meat grinder at that point.
There is a non-zero chance of a conspiracy theory that one of the reasons we drug our feet on creating that second front was to allow the Russians to be meat
The Soviets to get a bloody nose.
Yeah, and as punishment because the Soviets were in on it with the Germans until they weren't. They made, they had made that deal and they were going to be perfectly fine with, Hitler taking over Europe until he made a move against them with Operation Barbarossa, I believe it was. So, two fronts are not an effective way to run anything. You can't have two supply lines. It's just not something you can do. Now, I know,
especially across oceans.
Now, in the modern way of doing warfare, can the United States project power into multiple theaters at once? Yes, we 100% can. Can we take territory in multiple locations? No, we cannot. We can take territory in one spot.
Because taking territory means fortifying after you take the territory.
It means hundreds of thousands of boots on the ground. You need, and our standing army, I believe, is only a couple 100,000 anyway. So your entire army and possibly most of your Marine Corps is occupied in one zone when you do that. Now, using carrier groups and our modern Air Force equipment, we can project power through multiple places in the world. But running sustained campaigns also takes attention. So you can really, when you're doing something like Iran, we are focused mainly on that, and we could only probably do small operations in tangent, like what we're doing in South America, where we're doing our anti-narcotic activity.
Right.
That, like, those things are very small in comparison. We're running airstrikes with drones. We're maybe doing small special forces operations. We are not projecting massive force into South America at the moment. So that
we're
kind of
definitely
thing,
not trying to occupy in any
No.
way.
So that can run concurrent to what we're doing in Iran, and neither of those locations are we trying to occupy it. Now, again, when you have a carrier group, it is regular, it is. I wish Slender were here to confirm it. My understanding, it is standard attachment to a carrier group to have a Marine Expeditionary Force through an amphibious flat top vessel. That's just
Slender
so
is in the chat. He just said something a few minutes ago. So.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if
he
Slender
might be able
if
to answer you there.
Yeah, if you're here and you can confirm, like, that news where they were like they're dispatching a Marine Expeditionary Force, I believe they're just rotating in this one and rotating out the other vessel from the carrier groups that are there, because they're coming from Japan, which makes sense because that's probably the closest to the operation that's running. But yeah, so if you're able to confirm that it's pretty standard to have a Marine Expeditionary Force as part of a carrier strike group, that would be great. We'll give them time because they're a little behind. So
we'll give them that, and then we'll leave this topic and
Yeah.
go to the other topic for the night, the influencer group. But before we do that, and we carry Marines on carriers sometimes, but we have amphibs for that, and they're pretty big too.
That's what they're sending.
But would they be part of the? Would they be part of the carrier fleet?
Yeah, they're sending the amphibious, the littoral, whatever they call them, littoral amphibious, flat top looking little boats. Littoral combat. If they have,
he says yes if the strike group has an associated tasking.
There you go. That would make, so that's, to me, sounds like it's just standard setup for it.
If there's a possibility of the need. Yeah. So before we get into the other topic, I did want to pull up just a semi-feel-good thing. So I'm sure you guys, I know not everybody around here is big into the sports ball or hockey specifically, but I'm sure everybody remembers us talking about the transgender that shot up the hockey game about a month ago, right?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it was one of the players that was playing that night. It was the dad, dressed up as a woman, who shot, I believe it was the sister, the mother, and the grandmother, and they all died. The player was was fine. So this is actually number 17. That may be a little bit loud with the cheering and the horn.
I don't hear anything.
Yeah, there's no audio. So
oh, okay. Good.
Which is
because
good.
There's nothing really to hear. It's mostly just to see. So number 17, the kid who scores that goal, that is the kid whose dad went on the shooting spree at the hockey arena. This was double overtime for a, I can't remember which championship it was, which level, but he ends up scoring the game-winning goal for the championship. So happy for him. A month later, it's kind of crazy that, playing in a game like that, but, a good feeling moment for him after all the bad that's happened over the past month for him and his family. So thought I'd show you that because I doubt most people would have seen it if I didn't. So where to start on the influencer stuff? I think we will start with, and we covered most of this when it was going on, but I think we'll start with the Turning Point USA stuff, and it's kind of built into this clip. So this will be a little bit of Ben's speech at Turning Point and a little bit of Tucker, and then we've got a whole bunch of Tucker being crazy and a whole bunch of Megan being crazy and a whole bunch of Ben kind of making some sense, even if you don't like him or he's not your favorite. He's not the one kind of losing his mind about everything. So here's Tucker.
But whatever his many faults, it has the most socially conservative country probably in the hemisphere. So Venezuela is just a fact. I mean, I didn't make this up. I'm not in charge of Venezuela. Just noticing. Ben Shapiro responded this way.
Tucker's made the point, I'm not going to here to be Tucker's defender, but he's made the point that Maduro is culturally conservative.
Who gives a shit? The guy's a communist dictator. Everyone in his country is eating dog. He's shipping fentanyl to the United States to kill Americans. Why do I give a shit whether he's anti-LGBTQ rights?
Quote, I don't give a shit. Maduro's against Israel.
Ben Shapiro, the next thing I knew, he was standing on the stage at Turning Point calling me a coward for this very thing.
And when Megan said this week, quote, my goal and my job here is to try to understand, yes, where Candace is coming from on this, and says she sees no purpose in inserting herself, quote, into this on one side, that is a moral and logical absurdity. There is only one moral side here, Erica Kirk's side. You know, the side of the widow with 2 children, whose husband was shot live on camera in front of all of us. Friendship with the person accusing TPUSA of a cover-up of Charlie's murder is no excuse for cowardice.
Calling me a coward for this very thing. So I am convinced now more than ever that there is a crew for whom everything revolves around Israel. Maduro is culturally conservative.
Who gives a shit? The guy's a communist dictator. Friendship with the person accusing TPUSA of a cover-up of Charlie's murder is no excuse for cowardice.
Quote, I don't give a shit. Maduro's against Israel.
I am convinced now more than ever that there is a crew for whom everything revolves around Israel.
All right, so that kind of lays out where all of this kind of started. I mean, it's true. Shapiro did not, in those specific clips, Shapiro did not bring up Israel in any way. He was making very valid points about Candace, about Turning Point, about Charlie Kirk, and about Venezuela.
Yep.
Without bringing up Israel in any way. They're the ones that brought up Israel. So, at the same time, Ben often talks about Israel quite a bit. So it's not that I'm just giving Ben a pass on that part of it, but it is crazy how we've gotten to the point where so many people are, everything is Israel all the time. So then we had Ben talking about Piers Morgan, which he really didn't even say anything that should have started a fight. It was basically why he doesn't want to be on Piers Morgan's show anymore. So we'll bring that one up real quick.
Take Piers Morgan. He seems really offended, like he won't stop tweeting. And, of course, suggesting the only reason that I was not appearing on his show anymore was his criticism of Israel, which is weird because I appeared on his show for literally months after October 7th, even though he was already critical of Israel. I just stopped appearing on his show. Why? Well, honestly, he kept bringing on actual Nazis and the Nazi adjacent. For example, these people.
I believe that Jewish supremacy is the greatest threat to America, and I think it's the greatest threat to the world today.
You think Hitler was very cool?
Yes, I do.
It's going to be the headlines tomorrow. Piers Morgan, Israel is ISIS.
Only among.
That's how I feel about those young men in Gaza. You ask me why I won't condemn them. Because those young men were born into a concentration camp.
You don't think they
Israel
have?
has been a terrorist state. Okay, Israel right now is imparting a genocide and a Holocaust on the Gazan people.
Listen, it's Piers' choice who he decides to have on his show and how he decides to conduct the kind of clown car battle royale that he does on a show every night. And it's my choice not to join that circus. We all make our choices and we all live with them, but some of us make our choices based on, actual principles and not the clicks.
Ben ultimately said before the fighting started that the reason he doesn't go on is because Piers Morgan's show is a lot like just Jerry Springer. It's a madhouse. You're constantly getting over-talked. Nobody's making any real points because everybody's just screaming at each other the whole time. And yes, he has his reasons for why he doesn't want to go on there because of some of the guests that Piers has platformed there, which I'm not saying you can't platform people. I think you can platform whoever you want on your channel, but there's also other people have the right to then not want to go on your channel because you've platformed those people.
Yeah, I mean, he's well within his rights not to do it, but at the same time, saying because he's platformed these people, it's like, how else are you going to expose people's bad ideas? That's the big problem here. As we've mentioned before, sunlight is the best disinfectant, and it is definitely the best disinfectant when it comes to bad ideas.
Right. But it's also, if you're going to expose what you consider bad ideas or bad actors, you should probably give them a little bit of a pushback.
Or you just let them talk. I mean, it depends on how you want to do it, right? Sometimes you just let them talk, let them get their bad ideas out there. Don't interrupt them. Don't interrupt the enemy when they're making a mistake, as they say. Or, like you said, you can push back. It depends on how you want to handle the interview.
Right. So from there, we get Piers and Tucker. So Piers decided to immediately have Tucker on as a guest so that they could throw a fit about this. So we'll watch a little bit of that one.
I started originally criticizing Tucker Carlson for his economic programs back in 2018. And then in the more modern post-Fox iteration of Tucker, I started criticizing Tucker over his going to Russia to sniff the bread and kiss Vladimir Putin's ass. My generalized critique of Tucker in the last few months has been, one, he hosted and glossed a Nazi, Nick Fuentes, which doesn't have to do with Israel. It has to do with glazing a Nazi, Nick Fuentes. And then I did a speech at Heritage in which I went through the fact that Tucker Carlson is in no way, shape, or form a traditional conservative, that he's a conspiratorial near-anarchist at this point, seeking to tear down the fundamental ideas and institutions of the United States. Go watch the Heritage speech. I believe Israel is mentioned once in a 35-minute speech that is all about Tucker's general view of the world and how it does not represent traditional conservatism in any way. I think that Tucker Carlson has fostered anti-Semitism by having on some of the worst anti-Semites in America over and over and over.
Or Megyn Kelly, whoever it may be, dares to platform anybody who is critical of Israel. Let's be clear. I mean, in my case, I've always made it crystal clear, as you have in this interview, I have absolutely no problem with Israel, the state of Israel, with Israelis, with Jewish people, many Jewish friends. It's nothing to do with that. I reserve the right as a journalist to criticize any government, and I particularly reserve the right to criticize the Israeli government, given what it's been doing in the last few years, as any decent journalist should, not least because in Gaza, for example, the Israeli government continues to ban international journalists from operating there or even going on into Gaza to verify what they've been up to. That alone should be a warning sign to everybody that the Israeli government has probably been doing things in Gaza it doesn't want people to know. So, but I took the same view. You know, I oppose the Iraq war. We've talked about this before. But I led the media campaign in the UK against the Iraq war, even though my own brother ended up fighting in it. But I opposed it, and I think was vindicated by what happened afterwards. By a
Yeah, I mean, I care about the United States. Again, I was born here. My family's been here hundreds of years. I care about it. I don't expect I'll be able to save it, but I want to do whatever I can to make it better and to avoid obvious disasters like this one. I don't want to attack Ben Shapiro, other than to say, like, that guy went to Harvard, and so did Bill Ackman. Like, at some point, you need to reassess. No, I'm serious, though. These are two of the most famous, richest people in our world. They both went to Harvard. I know them both. Not geniuses, like, not even close to geniuses. And so, like, our system itself is not producing wise people or even very knowledgeable.
So then we go into ad hominem type attacks. So, Chad, you've heard the rumors about what is possibly going on with Tucker. Do you want to elaborate a little bit?
Oh, do tell. I'm interested.
So Tucker is the one who rumored this himself by coming out and saying he was being tapped by the CIA and they were taking his phone calls and his messages. The rumor is that he is under investigation for FARA violations, which is the Foreign Agent Registration Act, meaning that if you are going to provide material support to a foreign government, you have to register as an agent with the United States so it is known publicly you are advocating for a foreign entity. And
and which foreign entity would that be?
Iran. Which was Iran. Iran so far.
Probably by way of Qatar.
Yeah, by way of Qatar, yeah. But they're implying, so with it leaked and rumored that Trump actually used Tucker because the people were talking about how he had his meeting with Tucker like on the eve of the war starting.
He's had a few meetings with Tucker during this whole build-up.
That they rope-a-dope the Iranian leadership by using Tucker to basically pass along information that nothing was going to happen, that all this stuff was going to just be for show for right now, and Trump was not going to do any military operations. And
at this point, we should make clear most of this is speculation.
Yeah.
But Tucker has said that the CIA has been supposedly tapping him, which I don't necessarily think the CIA should be wiretapping any American citizen, but I think it is more likely that they were wiretapping people over in Iran and Qatar, and they caught Tucker's communications with them.
Which they can do.
Yeah. So, but now it has come out, the Trump administration people are coming out pushing back saying that no, none of this is true, that we weren't tapping his calls. We weren't looking into it, that Tucker is just kind of going off the deep end about this stuff. Now, the caveat to that would be, hey, Tucker, what was in your messages that you think the CIA would want to see between you and Iranians? Like, what do you want to, what were you talking about?
Yeah. What communication is taking place if you were so worried about this all of a sudden? So, yeah. Don't know what to think on Tucker anymore. We showed a clip last week of Tucker. We'll play it again because it's a short clip. But then, Megan kind of has the same kind of take on it that is also semi-insane. Or at least she has a guest on who makes the same claims. So we'll play this one again.
Unconditional surrender means foreign troops get to rape your wife and daughter if they want. And everyone knows that. And that has been, if there's one consistent lesson of history, it means unconditional surrender means foreign troops get to rape your wife and daughter. Everyone can feel that. That's like the most atavistic instinct there is. And so to avoid that, people will do anything.
Not true.
And so
at all.
that's why it requires that level of force to get a population subdued to the point of unconditional surrender. That's why. And so in this case, of course, we don't have the ground force necessary I don't think Americans would voluntarily
NSA
participate in it. I
would be
just don't think we can do that. It would require weapons of mass destruction. It would require presumably nuclear weapons in order to do that. And let's not lie to ourselves. We're moving toward that.
So that's Tucker about
Unconditional surrender, let's be very clear, requires dropping atomic bombs. It requires a full-style occupation.
It's the same
Remember,
dude, isn't it?
the Soviet Union took 400,000 casualties in 1945 alone, advancing on Berlin. That's what unconditional surrender means. It means you break the back of the enemy and completely destroy their capacity, their will to fight, occupy them, and then rebuild and impose your martial will upon their soul. These people will fight to the death. And unfortunately, that is the project that we are now engaged in conjunction with the nation of Israel.
So, yeah. Little bit of unhinged takes on the scale of what we're doing in Iran from both of them, I think. I mean, because Megan's not giving any pushback on it, and she obviously invited him on right after having the conversation with Tucker as a guest. So
I'm not 100% on. I mean, I don't like trying to put words in her mouth when she's now. It is playing a little bit of semantics since it's her show and she could question it. She didn't say it though. I mean, there's a lot of dumb shit. There's a lot and plus Megyn Kelly's been giving us a lot of dumb shit lately too, where it's coming out of her mouth, it's coming out of her eyes, it's coming out of her nose, it's coming out of her whatever.
All the orifices.
It's coming out of her whatever's. She's I don't know.
It's gushing out like a big mess of flow.
In my opinion, in this case of him calling for unconditional surrender, it's essentially Trump's going to decide when they're done. We are going to pound them into the ground so hard that they are not going to be militarily capable of doing anything else. And that's when he will say, they're done. But no, it doesn't imply that the U.S. forces are going to go in and start raping the women.
Yeah,
nor has it really ever with the U.S. Armed Forces. Sure, there have been situations of rape and plunder and looting throughout history, but we're in a completely different age for the most part.
Yeah,
I don't know. It just seems like a completely unhinged take. That the only way we're going to accomplish anything is to use nukes or start raping everybody. So, you've got... I know this came off as a, highly pro-Shapiro thing. Shapiro just happens to be the one that they're all going after because Shapiro made comments about certain people, and that's where the influencer fight is coming from. Shapiro has also taken on Candace. I think we've all called out Candace except for those three. Piers hasn't called her out. Megan has refused to do anything to try to rein in Candace other than saying that she met with, or she tried to facilitate the meeting between Candace and Erica Kirk. And why should a victim have to sit there and sit down with her accuser is kind of how I felt about it then and how I feel about it now. But all that's to say, that's kind of what's going on in the influencer world. I don't think it has any bearing on what goes on outside of Twitter or the podcasting world. I don't think it will sway anybody one way or another about the Trump coalition and all that kind of stuff. It's just interesting to watch and kind of point and laugh at some of the craziness that's going on with all of them right now. Because all we have to do is sit there and watch and say what we actually think.
Pretty much.
And I'm not getting $7,000 at all.
I would like $7,000. I could do some cool stuff with $7,000.
No, I could too.
I mean,
yeah, I could pay my freaking taxes.
I will completely not say anything about space lasers or architecture for $7,000.
So, Chad, are you trying to say you speak good English?
I'm making a Candace joke.
I know.
Okay. I don't know if that. I didn't hear if she said that.
No, she did, but it was just. I felt relevant. It might not have been.
Yeah, By the way, I think we said this before the show started. We need to get a clip together for Candace Owens, and it's going to be from Tropic Thunder. It's going to be Robert Downey Jr. just never go full retard.
Never go full retard.
Instead of Simple Jack, it'll be Simple Candace.
Just another insane take from this week. I've got just a few clips of delusional takes that we can play that were from earlier in the week. Bagala talking about the steak and lobster. I'm sure almost everybody has seen this, but it still cracks me up.
I have not, actually.
Okay.
$15 million in 1 month for ribeye steak, $6.9 million for lobster tail, $225 million for furniture. He spent more in the month of September than most countries on earth spend in their defense.
Paul, do you believe
himself? Lobster tails?
Do you believe?
While our troops are eating MREs?
No. Do you
lobster
believe
the troops were
eating
eating
lobster? Is personally eating all the.
Let Scott take him down.
Do you believe the Secretary of Defense is personally eating all the lobster?
Well, he
It's
can't
for
eat
the
16.
Troops.
Oh, really? The troops are getting lobster
frequently in
theater.
My God! Troops who are going to war.
Oh my God!
Great meal. You know that.
They're
You
getting
know
lobster.
that.
You are so
You're gonna
full
get
of it.
killed over this.
You are
You're
so
gonna get killed
full of
over
it.
this. Internet, do something.
Internet, do something.
Well, I love the
hold
people
on. The narrator. The internet did in fact do something because yes, troops started sharing all their pictures of having the steak and the lobster.
That's fucking funny. Well, the funny thing about it too is they're complaining, look what the troops have to eat. It's like, yeah, those are called MREs. They've been eating those for a very long time. Are you kidding me?
I feel like, and this is just me, that instead of SNAP benefits, anybody who needs, if we are going to feed people because they can't feed themselves, it should be with MREs. Because if it's good enough for our soldiers, it's good enough for people in need. Because, if you're going hungry, you're not going to...
And at least has the calorie count
it has all the
to sustain human life.
And let's see how fucking fast all these people on SNAP benefits suddenly don't need SNAP benefits when all you're getting is MREs. It'll be like, nope.
Depending on the MREs aren't bad. I mean, they're pretty good sometimes.
They're a lot better than they used to be.
They're better than they used to be, but the people who are using their SNAP benefits aren't gonna tolerate that.
I know, but it's just funny because it's accurate.
But I think that's what we should be doing. 100% is make people who are supposedly in that kind of need start doing that for their meals.
I think that's what I do. Yeah, that would be a great program. The last thing we've got is Whoopi once again proving just how stupid she is on The View. So play this one real quick.
It's just nutty as hell. It's nutty as hell. Yeah. And you're right. Every day is something new. And it's, I was thinking about it yesterday because I thought, well, okay, why haven't we been talking about Savannah Guthrie and what's going on there?
And her mother.
Why have we not been talking about the Epstein files? Because that's still there.
Yeah.
This is meant to get us so worked up that we are unable to see anything else.
Wait, is she talking about the?
So she's wagging the dog is what she's going for.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the reason we're in Iran is because we don't want anybody to talk about Savannah Guthrie and Nancy Guthrie, because that's a major scandal for the Trump administration that Guthrie got kidnapped and nobody knows what's going on there. We talked about it for like 3.5 straight weeks. Everybody talked about it. And it has no pertinence to anything going on in this country. It's tabloid crap. Yes, I feel bad that the lady is missing, but at the same time, why would we still be talking about it a month and a half later when there's no information that is out there that is new? They're doing an investigation. But that Whoopi's got him nailed. Iran is about the Guthrie case. Insane.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. There was one other clip that I was going to play during the stuff when we were talking about the attacks this week. So this is tied to the synagogue getting attacked. But then it's got an old clip of Ann Coulter, which I still find hilarious, even though Ann Coulter's kind of lost her mind too at times. So we'll play
We
this
start
one
this
and
evening with two breaking stories here at
Yeah,
home.
she does.
Near Detroit, a suspect drove a car into a synagogue, then died in a confrontation with security there. A security guard was hurt, but is expected to recover. No one else was injured. And in Norfolk, Virginia, a shooter killed one person and hurt two others at Old Dominion University. FBI Director Kash Patel says the suspect is dead after students stepped in to stop him. Sources tell MS Now the shooter is a U.S.
A shooter.
But Brahma, how are the Muslims most affected?
Correct. Which is what we're getting to.
Look, I'm super concerned that this is going to lead to a backlash.
Yes.
And that would
Mom
be
Mom Donnie's aunt is going to be very upset and scared for her life.
Not as much as his wife.
Right.
Citizen who once pleaded guilty to trying to help ISIS.
I mean, we don't know who did this shooting, by the way.
Reminder, this is a very old clip, just sewn into it.
The Super Bowl shooting.
We have some idea.
What?
If it were a white man shooting, we'd know.
Well, we don't know. I mean, they haven't.
That's how we know it's not a white man. I can tell you that much.
Do you think they were repressing that reporting?
They wouldn't tell us about the transgender woman that shot up the Christian school for what, like a year? San Bernardino out here. Remember the crazy terrorist Muslims? That's when I first noticed, they're not telling us who it is. It's not a white male. The longer they go without telling you, it's not a white male.
Okay, well, for this one, for right now, as of Friday night, February 16th.
We know.
We don't officially know. Okay, you have special powers. But
yeah, they're called the powers of observation.
Observation, which most people lack these days, apparently.
I don't agree with Ann on a lot, but that was one of the greatest moments in Mar history because she's just
remember,
we know.
She's right, because look how quickly they bury these incidents when it's not a straight white male that went and committed it.
I mean, you're also leaving out, I still think, and this is another Ann Coulter one from 2016, who in the Republican thing has the best chance of winning? She's like Trump. And they all laughed at her.
Yeah.
And she's like, why are you laughing? They're all like, look at Ann Coulter, she's retarded. She said Trump has the best chance of winning. I knew Trump. All right, so this is where way back I was running business operations at a place. I was going to a supply depot to try to, because I was ordering things in bulk, electrical equipment. And I was talking to just some of the regular, guys while I was waiting for the, manager to be ready to work through the order. And they were all to a person like ready to vote for Trump. They're like, this was early. And these were not Republican voters. They were like, no, but this guy, he's like, this guy gets it. And I was like, shit, Trump's going to win. Like, it's not even going to be close.
Yep.
Because he was getting, like, Jeb Bush didn't have that energy. Ha ha ha. Please clap.
We'll play one more clip for another old Bill Maher clip, just because it's another one of my favorites, and because the Oscars is going on tonight, just to show how out of touch actors are. Because I think you two have definitely seen this, the Ben Affleck clip. You remember this one?
I believe, yeah. I think that
I would
this
argue
is the
that
one thing.
liberals have failed us, and the crucial point of confusion. Thank you.
Thank God you're here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the crucial.
Are you the person who understands the officially codified doctrine of Islam? You're the interpreter of that, so you can say, well, this is.
I'm actually well educated on this topic.
I'm asking you. So you're saying if I criticize you're saying that Islamophobia is not a real thing. That if you're critical of something,
it's not a real thing when we do it.
Right.
Well, no,
it really isn't.
I'm not denying that certain people are bigoted against Muslims as people, and that's a problem.
Big of you.
But
But why are you so hostile about this? It's gross. It's racist.
It's not. But it's so not.
It's like saying those stateless, shifty Jew.
You're not listening
Absolutely
to
not.
what we are saying.
You guys are saying if you want to be liberals, believe in liberal principles like freedom of speech, like we are endowed by our forefathers with an inalienable rights, like all men are created equal.
Ben, we have not to be forefathers.
Of course we do. No liberal is
creator.
But why
would is the mother load of bad ideas?
Jesus.
So we have. But Nick,
or how about the more than a billion people who aren't fanatical, who don't punish women, who just want to go to the store,
wait a second. Wait a second.
and don't do any of the things that you're saying all Muslims stereotyping.
Wait a second.
Things, and you painting the whole group religion with that. What is your solution? What is your ask?
No,
just condemn Islam?
The solution. No. The solution is very much what
we've killed more Muslims than they've killed us by an awful lot. We've invaded more Muslims.
I am not for more killing.
An awful lot. Yet somehow we're exempted from these things because they're not really a reflection of what we believe in. We did by accident. That's why we invaded Iraq and put 4 million people.
By the way, I know my co-host enough that if Slenderdad is still in the chat, he is getting so mad hearing just that stuff coming out.
He's still in the chat.
Yeah, if he I can tell you that hearing that would probably make him want to punch people in the face because the way he was just mocking and doing all that stuff. It's such a actor sort of thing. He's definitely the president of the Film Actors Guild for that moment.
Yep.
Thanks, Film Actors Guild.
But I just keep that one downloaded so I can watch it every now and then and laugh at Ben Affleck.
Yeah,
the ignorance.
Yeah, I remember that when it came out. That was like the height of
you're being ignorant.
Yeah, crazy shit. Back in 2015, 16 when that clip came out?
Ignorant thing.
Or something around then, yeah.
That would have been around Trump. Now, that was also, on the other hand, that's, I believe, is that Sam Stein?
Yeah, I believe
he has gone full retard, too.
TDS.
He's, remember he famously was the one on his podcast where when he was being interviewed by somebody.
It's not Sam Stein, but yeah, I know who you're talking about. It's Sam, blanking out his name. Sorry, go ahead, continue.
Yeah, where he was asked about the stuff with Hunter Biden, and he basically said Hunter Biden and Joe Biden could have had kids chained up in a basement doing terrible things to them, and he would still vote for them over Trump.
Right.
It was like, I feel like you're losing any moral clarity you think you might have there, buddy.
Sam Cedar?
No, it's not Sam Cedar.
No.
I thought it was.
No, it's not Sam Cedar. God damn, he was pretty base for a while, and then he kind of lost his mind with TDS.
I don't even know what his name is.
I'm blanking on it.
But I know who that is because he has he tries to be like a super above it of all intellectual.
Yeah.
I approach everything with logic and raw. But because I remember Scott Adams used him as the prime example of a fake because kind of guy.
Sam Harris.
I knew it was a Sam thing. Yeah. Where this is a clear example of someone who had a conclusion and he's trying to reach backwards in his brain to a way he can make that conclusion work. So
here you go, Chad. DB Wild.
Oh, nice.
Gotcha.
Oh, come on. You got to send that to Keri.
Yeah, I will.
I feel like she will have a field day with that. Because I have seen
especially once we animate it and make it say something.
I have seen Keri been going to town trying to fight that fight all weekend long.
Yeah. On the plus side, apparently she's doing better with the shingles. Do you want to check and see if there's any memes out there, and then we'll end the main show and maybe do a little bit of after show?
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything on notification. Let me go to the actual.
So is tonight the Oscars?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any memes this time. No memes. We are memeless.
Tonight's the Oscars, and nobody cared.
No, there's one meme I see from Release McCracken.
You want to grab it and bring it in?
I'll bring it up.
Yeah, because maybe it wasn't linked to us.
Okay, wanting votes from Americans, preferring illegals over Americans.
The Ukraine flag.
That was good. That's all I said. That was tagged with us.
Nice.
Yeah.
Maybe X has been funky for me like the last couple days where. So
it
maybe
keeps making me log into the DMs, like put my pin in to see my DMs.
I mean, it's not like I'm fairly sure that X is probably constantly under attack from federal governments around the world because they hate X so much that they hate it.
Well, Comix, what do you got coming up?
Pain and suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Pain.
Also known as Mondays and Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Central on my channel.
It is painful.
It is. And there is much suffering. Usually the audience is suffering.
On second thought, let us not go to Camelot. It is a silly place.
On second thought, let's not go to Camelot. It is a silly place. Yeah. My God. I played that stupid Lesbian Knight's Tale game. Oh my God, the combat in that game is so fucking awful. It is so bad.
That's funny. You was there a part where you could have a romantic partnership?
No, not yet.
That explains why the lesbian combat was so poor, because they're really good at getting into fights with their romantic partners. Statistically, lesbian relationships have the highest rates
domestic,
of DV.
Yeah, domestic violence. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, it's
not even close. By the way, it's like it is a ridiculously high rate.
There's a dodge button, and dodging doesn't work. It's like you still get fucking hit. Because I got to the first boss. It's like, I don't understand it. It's like, are you trying to be a Souls game and you're trying to get like these timings down, and it is just fucking obnoxious, man. Fucking obnoxious.
Loose women with loose gameplay.
Yeah. Well, because they're trying to do the thing where you have like poise, and you have to break their posture in order to cause damage to them. And it's just like, okay. And apparently you're allowed to upgrade your character, and they don't necessarily tell you that unless you actually go into the menu. Yeah, it was awful. I was like, I'm wandering around. I was like, why am I collecting these fucking papers for? And then I go, oh, wait a minute. There's an upgrade system. Oh, there you go.
Right. They just don't ever tell you that there is an upgrade system.
Yeah.
Dead Man for $1.99 says, you're wrong. You're welcome, Chad. I'm assuming that's about me.
Yes. Good. Play the thing. Do the thing.
Do the brunette.
Heal the bullpen.
Good job.
So much jiggle.
I'll heal the bullpen.
Oh no, it's stuck.
Oh no, how?
You know what you have to say now.
Yeah.
There it is. It's not a real bullpen clip without that.
I thought it was like giggity or something.
No, that's effectively Brahma's giggity.
Yeah.
It's what if his
it's a carryover from Mad Show.
Yeah, if his wife hears him
Ascendant
say
Art.
it's going to end badly.
Very true. Chad, what do you got coming up this week?
We got Ascendant Art podcast on Friday, 9 p.m. I'm trying to get everybody, because I think everybody's going to be covering Project Hail Mary next week. Because
I would assume so.
Yeah. So, yep. But Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, is also opening up. So I think we should all watch that one so we can talk about that, because I think it'll be good counter programming, since the first one was actually really solid.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do to see it.
So if you can arrange your own thing, I'll try to. I know Matt actually liked the first one, so I'm hoping I can convince him to actually watch it too. But that's a good idea maybe for your show too, Comix, because I think Project Hail Mary is going to become like kind of everything's talking about it. So you might do a bit of counter program.
Fair enough.
If you liked Ready or Not, I thought it was a good
one. I haven't heard or seen the first one.
You haven't seen the first one?
Yeah.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, Samara Weaving is quite the scream queen. It's Hugo Weaving's niece.
Oh, okay. Ready or Not.
Of Agent Smith fame.
Take it this is not a video game.
No, this is a movie.
All right.
As for me, I will be on all of the aforementioned shows. I'll be on
Or
Comix
comedy. Interesting.
Monday and Thursday. I'll be on Mad's channel on Tuesday. Wednesday, I don't know if we've got a Christian panel. I haven't talked to Keri yet. Friday, Ascendant Art. Saturday, this is an on week for Bourbon and Boarding, so we'll be talking some hockey. And then we're back here for the Bullpen next Sunday. So we'll get you out of here with an outro, and then we'll, at least me and Chad will probably stick around for a few minutes. So we'll end it over on Twitter. And
since I was massively late, I'll stay for a bit.
Cool.
Oh, that's cool. He hasn't done the next new one for you yet?
Not yet. He's working on it.
Cover the bills, the votes, the mess. Political theater at its best, I guess.
Have the Oscars done their Best Picture winner yet? I'm guessing they probably. Oh, the Sinners Director of Photography winner is talking about how great it is that girls who look like her will be able to now dream of winning.
Hooray.
Hooray.
The chops on lock, got the flow seared, mainstream pushing cap, but we see it clear into minds cutting straight through the haze, real spit, no front, ain't playing no games, lip slipping, tripping on the foolery, we just chop it, call it raw truly, we're fact checking every statement with meticulous precision, while the politicians sleeping through the legislative mission, corporate media is feeding you a carefully designed revision.
One battle after another got Best Picture.
Really?
Yep.
I am shocked, actually.
Yeah, there you go.
I thought Sinners was going to win everything.
It was a 2-horse race.
Well, it really was.
So as soon as Ryan Coogler won for Best Original Screenplay, that was like the compromise. That way Coogler gets his Oscar. They've done that a lot of times where they'll do that. Paul Thomas Anderson won for One Battle After Another for Best Director.
Have either of you seen Sinners?
Yeah, I like Sinners. A quality made movie.
See, we do get our Twitter chats too.
Oh, wow, look at that.
Peace, stay informed, stay skeptical.
I would go see Hail Mary on Monday, but it's at 7:00. It's like it's a 2.5 hour movie, so I'll be late for my show if I do that.
Yeah, but I mean, you can make talks work while you go do that.